You're tuned in to Shop Talk, presented by RaceOnTexas.com. Here's your host, Caleb McFarland.
And folks, welcome back. Here we are, another week of Shop Talk. I am your host, Caleb McFarland, and joining us this week is Miss Ann Naumann out of Cotton Bowl Speedway. Ann, it is so nice to have you out here as we continue our Promoters weeks within the Shop Talk, giving y'all a little chance to let all the racers and fans get to know a little bit behind the scenes of who puts everything on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We let y'all in on a secret. We were chatting before we pushed the old record button and started the podcast, and you had mentioned that y'all used to have a late model series that y'all kind of were in charge of that toured around. And, is that, almost where things kind of started out for y'all in the promoting world, or did y'all kind of start a little bit before that?
I started before that. In 1981, I worked with my parents, and we promoted a little short track, quarter-mile track in Austin called Longhorn Speedway. And then I worked for the asphalt track, Thunderhill Raceway, as a general manager. And in between that, and actually I bought into the Thunderhill Raceway. But prior to that, we created the late model series. It was called the Texas Super Racing Series, TSRS. And that's where Man Racing Promotions, Mary Ann Naumann, that's where the man came from, Man Racing Promotions. And so that's what we did. We started together, my husband and I, as the late model touring series, and we traveled all over Texas, went to Houston, Thunderhill, San Antonio, Wichita Falls at the time was asphalt, and traveled around, had a great time with that series, a great time. And then the Thunderhill track was going to close, and San Antonio had already closed, and Wichita Falls was looking like it was going to go to dirt. So we kind of condensed down to and invested into the Thunderhill Raceway. So was there for a while.
So needless to say, y'all have got some experience in the ball game, some skin in the game, as they say.
Tiny bit.
And it's really shown. It really has. There were a few years back that I finally had a chance to get to head out there to Cotton Bowl Speedway, and a good friend of mine, I call him my little brother, he was running his, he was running a modified for somebody, and his dad was driving the late model, and I loved it. I was impressed with the facility. I'm like, this is one of the nicest tracks I've been to, and it's continued to get better since then. And, with all of that, you're most welcome. With all of that, improvements happen through the season, of course, but, off-season projects are always a big thing that tracks like to, undertake, I guess you could say, when they have a little bit more time and not as many people coming and going. So, in the off-season, what kind of things did y'all work on improving and kind of get to the drawing board on how to make 2021 better than 2020?
Well, like you said, it's a really nice facility. I'd love to say we built it, but we didn't. We inherited it. So it's a great facility. I do think one of the best in the state of Texas. And it, one of the issues that we had when we first took the track over was the pit area was just kind of mushy, kind of not packed down very well. The material that had been brought in there, it was probably the real missing link for the racetrack. So when you had a rain out, it usually wasn't due to the racetrack
but more
not
so
being
the pits,
raceable. It was the pit area. So we concentrated a lot on trying to improve that. And my husband H does all of that work, and he did a great job on the off season, making it even better than, like, each year has gotten a little bit better, but this year he got it like really, really good. And then we had this terrible snow that came to Texas. Yes. And so a lot of the work that he had done, kind of went by the wayside. But although had he not done that, we probably wouldn't have been able to be ready for this coming Saturday, because he really had to get in there and get busy again with it. But rolling it, packing it down, most people don't like it to be sheep-footed, but we're trying to sheep-foot it and then roll it, pack it down, and then, try to scrape it off. So it looked really, really good yesterday. I was super impressed how it held up. We had a lot of cars there.
Yeah.
So the track facilities, H had really just went above and beyond, worked the entire off-season, where normally you kind of have an off-season, but we didn't this year because he just really focused on kind of just making the curb appeal a little bit better.
Right.
And then, like I said, we got hit really hard. The rumor was we didn't prep the track for this cold weather, but in fact, we had prepped it extremely well. We have central heat and central air in a couple of our areas, like our VIP area and our race control. In our office area, all of that is central air, our concessions, all that is. And so we had the heaters on. And then if there were open pipes, he put little, heaters to keep that. We dripped the pipes really well. The faucets really well. All of it was prepped so well. And the first night we lost electricity.
Oh my gosh.
It went from just terrible. And then once the water, we couldn't get to the track, and we live about 30 something miles, 35 miles away from the racetrack. So we couldn't get to the track. And so by the time we could get there, we already had, the busted pipelines. And so the race control was flooded. The bathrooms were flooded. And we have I think we have some really nice restroom areas, considering it's a racetrack.
Absolutely.
So all of that was flooded. Our pit restroom, men's restroom, was just about destroyed. A hot water heater above, it froze. And anyway, it was just, and I know things can always be worse, but it was a lot of extra work that we weren't prepared to do. And, the time was terrible. It was just before we were to have the tour come through, the IMCA.
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
Yes, that tour comes through, which we were excited. It was our first year to do it. But several of the tracks got hit hard. So that was canceled, put off till 2021 or 2022. And then we had the World of Outlaws, and it was like, they were already having hotels cancel the drivers' rooms, so because people were living and, having to stay in the hotels. So that was canceled. So they were seeing the effects of Texas. Besides,
Correct.
The traveling still was not going to be that great. And then the track was just, we could have never pulled it off. With all hands on deck, we could have not pulled it off, because we've worked since we could drive there.
Right.
We've worked nearly every day. So, and we're still working. We still are trying to finish up some of the plumbing and stuff. So that was an unexpected lot of work and a lot of expense the track was not expecting. So that was pretty much our off season. So we didn't get to do a few of the projects that we had wanted, but it looked so good. But
yeah, and
it, like I said, could have been worse.
You'd mentioned yesterday. Yesterday, y'all had the big car show out there. Y'all did the banquet.
Yes.
And you mentioned pits holding up. Y'all had a good amount of cars out there just for the test and tune and the car show. So
we did. The car show was amazing. I'd love to take credit for it, but Mike Fortier is the one that hit me up with this. When all this other stuff is going on. And I'm like, oh, how can I do this? But he was so passionate about it. And I was like, okay, buddy, if you handle it, So,
right.
So we all got together and we promoted it, and then we had to reschedule it. So yesterday was a reschedule. So I didn't really expect very many cars to be there, even for the car show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pull up about 10, I think, maybe 9:30, 10, and they're just beautifully lined up in our hot pit area. And he had them all just looking and they were all just gorgeous cars. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And the day was beautiful. And then we did the awards, because we had to reschedule. We weren't able to schedule a banquet. So we thought, when can we do this? Do we rush it into our first race night, which is always chaotic, the first night?
Absolutely.
The
first
or
night
do we add it to the car show? So we added it, and we called it one of our bigger sponsors, Craig's Jewelry. We added, we just called it we talked to them, and they were like all for it and helped us with it. And then, so we did the awards, and then we had the open test and tune. And the last time I counted, it was 53 cars.
Oh my gosh!
For test and tune. I'm like, we're not racing tonight, guys. This is But it was so great, because it was free. The event was free, and then we just charged $50 for the cars if they wanted to go on the racetrack. If they didn't want to go on the racetrack, the whole thing was free.
Absolutely.
And so people brought they brought their grandparents. People wanted to get out. It was a beautiful day, and they did it. They just came out. It was so amazing. It was so refreshing, and people still did the social distancing. Everybody was waving instead of hugging, shaking hands, but everybody was. Some had masks on, some didn't, being that we're an outdoor venue.
Correct.
But nobody shunned anyone if they had a mask on or they didn't. So it was. the camaraderie was just incredible.
Yeah.
It just really lit my fire.
And that's one of the things that makes racing great is the camaraderie and the fellowship, that we get to have with everyone. And I really kind of feel that that's kind of, I'm not going to say that it's gone to the wayside over the years, but it's, I would almost argue that it's just
a little bit.
Yeah, it's just not as strong as it used to be.
Yes. And I think I would have to say, as unfortunate as COVID is, I think COVID has made us all sit back and say there's things so much more important in life that we have a little better appreciation for things that we can lose, not only being loved ones or friends and families, but things that we love. I mean, I've been around racing since I was 8 years old. I have people every day that I see that I met when I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I have people in the grandstands that, I have a pretty aging fan base because a lot of them came from the Longhorn Speedway days. And, I have people that race for me that are grandchildren of people that race with my dad. So it's like, I see the camaraderie just coming back. I think it got a boost. I think it got a boost from all this. And I think, racing will, it's sad that it's taken something like that. But I think in life, I think it's just been kind of a wake up for everyone that how life can be so short. We all do a dangerous sport. We all know racing is dangerous. We always know, my dad said that if he had to go and if it was in a race car, at least I would know he was in the happiest place he could be.
Right.
Well, I certainly I didn't lose him that way, but, it did give me as a child, saying he's doing what he loves right now out there on that racetrack. And so, even though times things scare me, worry me,
Absolutely.
those kind of things, it's like, I know that we choose to do this. We choose to go watch. We choose to participate. We all know it's a dangerous sport. Heck, we can drive to work and something happened to us. So it's part of it. It's part of it. But I think people have come to realize that, hey, we about lost the thing that we are so passionate about.
Yeah.
So I think it's given people a new light into it. I really
agree,
do.
Because for the first couple months, we missed out on racing season last year, and at the times when I was the tracks that I was able to go to, kind of once we started opening up across the state and whatnot, I was quite surprised as to how many people that were there, and kind of I was taken aback by it, but at the same time, the realization hit me of everything's been closed as far as entertainment wise, as for what people can go do and where they can, go enjoy some time and relax and get away from the everyday woes of life. And, that's when it kind of started coming back as just like people are out here back doing it for the enjoyment of having fun and something to do because they love doing it. And it's
right.
I think that theme also really kind of carried, through the rest of the 2020 season.
I think you're right. Completely.
It just depends on what lens you want to look at it through, as to, to how we come to that. But, 2020, it was a rough year for every racetrack, starting out with the uncertainty of how things were going to go. If I remember right, y'all were working on getting a plan together to race, and then it got stopped and shut down, and then it, kind of bounced back and forth. And, from a promoter's, standpoint, like, how does that kind of, I guess you could say, weigh on you as far as not knowing, when are we going to get to start racing? When are we going to allow, this venue to open up so people can, come blow off a little steam and such like that?
Well, what was important to me was that we found out what we had to do and we jumped the hoops to do it. Because the last thing I wanted to see happen was to have an event, have people there, and then for it to get shut down or called off, So it was really important to me to see what we're in 2 counties, so we had 2 different judges to go to.
Correct.
And then we also had to go through the governor's office, and we went as strictly as we possibly could by what they requested of us. And by doing that, and then we become, as we've all become more aware of things that we need to do just for ourselves, whatever we're doing, is, just the common thing, washing your hands and all the things that people really haven't taken for granted, or have taken for granted. We made certain that we had the right products there. So there was a cost thing to it as well, because, because we had to meet those guidelines.
Like that.
Mm-hmm. then you want to be able to leave that night and feel like the people that, that help you with the racetrack, because it takes a team of a big team of people to make it happen. And you want to make sure that they were safe, and you certainly want to make sure your fans were safe. So you opened up this venue. So that in itself was quite the challenge. But once we all got on the same page and the team got on the same page, it flowed pretty smooth. And then it just became part of the routine. We always pride ourselves on how clean we keep our restrooms, and we went above and beyond that. So
I agree. When we first started talking about the facility, I pulled up my phone because I took a picture of a sign that was in the men's bathroom when I was there, and it was a little rhyming poem thing, essentially about to cut it short. Men, pay attention to what you're doing. Keep the bathroom clean. But it was just funny to see that posted in a racetrack bathroom and how clean the bathroom was. I was like,
right,
man, if this sign is all it takes, I mean, we need to put them in every racetrack.
Well, I think one of the most proud times that I had was I very seldom go into the main concession or restrooms because we have one in the office. But I was doing something over in the grandstand area, and I stopped in to use the restroom, and we weren't even open yet. And the World of Outlaws were there, and I sat down to use the restroom, and I heard two ladies talking, and they were washing their hands, and they were talking about, this is the cleanest restroom I've been to at any given time. And I thought, oh, what a compliment, and I walked out, and there were two beautiful, classy ladies walking out, and I was so proud, So it's the little things like that.
That's a great thing to be able to hang the hat on. I mean, look at Buc-ee's.
Exactly.
I mean, Buc-ee's advertises billboards of cleanest restrooms. I mean, that's a drawing point right there.
It's so important. So important. I don't care how small it is or how big it is.
I agree.
We happen to be blessed with a lot of stalls, so that's a good thing, except that's a lot to clean. But it doesn't matter how big it is or how little it is. It needs to be clean, and it really needs to be clean for the women. The women are, if you're going to take your spouse, or even if you're a driver, if you're a woman, you look for a little bit more of that.
Right.
So we do pride ourselves on that. So
y'all
it's a funny thing, but I think it is huge.
That's right. And y'all heard it here first. Clean restrooms. Hey, that should be an award. I mean, we should Race on Texas. We should travel the different tracks in Texas that we go to. We should give an award for, on average, who has the cleanest bathrooms every week.
Listen, I tell you what, I'd be really happy to win that one. I'd be really happy.
On a Race on Texas note, we're talking about the pandemic. We've talked with Kevin Rogers on it. We talked with Owen Pittman, and and what's y'all's take on the Speed Pass deal with kind of how COVID came into play, and still allowing y'all to kind of bring that revenue into the track, through having the live programs there. I mean, is that, do you see it to be
well, if I may toot my horn just a tiny bit, we actually had in place to go live for our fans when we had someone that was working for us that I said, what can we do so that the people can still watch the races if they can't come into the grandstands? Because I'm not an IT person.
Right.
I just know that if all these people show up at a racetrack and they've got their cameras on and they're going live, and I'm watching them because I'm not at that racetrack, but I'm on the Facebook page and I'm watching it live. There's got to be a way we can do this at the racetrack. And so I mentioned it, and from there it just kind of went. So yes, I am so impressed with what Race on Texas has done, has put together. I don't know that I could have accomplished what they've done, but I knew it had to happen. In these days and times, and with the COVID, something had to happen to offer the fans. If we could get the race cars there, we could, and then if they could watch it and watch every race, not just somebody they're watching that does it live, that it would work. It could work. And I think Race on Texas has done an incredible job with it. And then it has, financially helped the tracks, even during the off season.
Right.
It's helped me pay, the electric bill. So my hats are off to them. They took the ball and they ran with it, and they've done such a professional job with it.
And yeah, there's a lot of live shows that we have coming up that are going to be out there. But most before we even get to the live shows that we're going to have out there with Race on Texas, y'all have got opening weekend this weekend. If I remember reading correctly, it's going to be Veterans Night.
It is. It is. We have we're honoring the VFW Post 6115 out of Elgin, Texas. So they're going to do the opening ceremony for us with the flag ceremony and bringing all their families out. And then we have a discount for veterans with an ID. So, it's kind of Veterans Night, kicking off the season. I think it's the right way to do it. And John Hobbs is just joined that particular VFW because two of them came together, and it was his idea. And then it just happened to be opening night, so it worked out really, really good. And he is the gunslinger, so he's one of our sponsors. So that worked out really well for us, and I think it'll work out well for him and the veterans. They're excited.
Yeah, and y'all have got after this week, y'all are going to go on a break from quote, I'm going to say weekly racing, because next week after this, or say after opening week, the following week, y'all are going to have the 2-day show, the remake of the World of Outlaw race coming up.
Yes, we'll have a full show on Friday night, March 19th, and then a full night on Saturday, the 20th, and it's two completely different shows.
And y'all are running, if I remember right, stock car class, factory stocks as well as the sport
factory
mods.
The Browning factory stocks on Friday night, and Gunslinger factory stocks on Friday night, and then on Saturday night we have the Magnum Sport Modified on Saturday night.
Okay, so I got you. So a full show with your stock cars Friday to go with the World of Outlaws, and then you're going to do the. I like it. Keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're just they are the support class, and we took the first 24 that entered factory stocks, and then the first 24 of the sport mods. I call them sport mods or limited mods.
Right.
Sport mods,
I'm with
whatever. The first 24. That way we don't have a lot of B mains or anything like that. We have a good, clean, heat races, lineups for the features, and we can keep the show, moving, and fans get to see a little bit of what we do on a regular Saturday night, and then they get to see the World of Outlaws as well. So I loved that the World of Outlaws wanted to do two shows, not just
a 2-day swing,
two
absolutely.
Different nights.
So
they got a double hitter in there, and they call it the Texas two-step. So
I like it.
It's pretty cool, pretty exciting.
They're playing onto the country music culture down here. I mean, that's
yes.
Texas, we're very prideful about a lot of things. So if you're going to rename some of your stuff about us, I mean, we'll take it. I mean.
That's right. And they picked up one of their sponsors decided that they would make this event one of the I think I don't know much about their point system, but it's one of the bigger shows. So and being a double hitter too is even better. So and then we have RV parking there. If you go to racecbs.com, you can purchase to be able to park there for the weekend with your RV. We have an RV area, marked off, and it's just $75 for the weekend. You can come as early as Thursday afternoon and leave Monday morning. So we just kind of making it a nice weekend for everybody.
Absolutely. And I remember from the times when we would have the not the Gulf South, the national tour with the ASCS come down when Beaumont was still running on Friday nights. We'd always get more cars if it was they'd had the Saturday night show over at Battleground in Highlands, because when you have that 1-day show and you look kind of where the week is going to be after that, if it's out of the way, a lot of folks aren't going to a lot of teams aren't going to make that trip down, but when you have that 2-day show,
for 2 days,
it makes it a lot more worthwhile for them, because
absolutely,
they know that they're going to get points both nights when they make the trip instead of just one, and they don't have to go to another track. They're right there.
They're right there. I mean, it cuts their costs down on traveling and everything. So, we're excited. They're excited too. They're real excited. Hoping, they're excited that their sponsors wanted to kick in a little bit more too. So I think it's been great. And then we take a week off.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we'll probably need it.
A week off to take a breath, regroup, and then boom, right back at it. And
That's right.
Y'all have got a lot of big things planned out there. Y'all got some late model shows on deck, and
we do
some other sprint car shows. If I remember right, the SUS has a date out
Uh-huh.
there.
We have is that the Southern United Sprint?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep,
yes,
we
ma'am.
have that. We have the dwarf cars, which put on a great show. And then we have a summer showdown series of 3 race nights. That's kind of a bonus thing that we put together that works out really good for us. We've got a full season.
And so, I'm going to put you on the spot now here. Out of everything that you have kind of planned and in the works, what would you say is your favorite weekend or favorite date that you have so far on the calendar?
Well, I'm one of those promoters that I can really only focus on one event, which is
one at a time.
The next event.
Right.
So I can tell you right now, my most exciting event is this Saturday, March the 13th.
That's a great promoter answer. Oh my gosh.
That's really how I work. And if you want, like someone asked me today something about RV parking, and I said, can you ask me that next week?
Yeah.
Just text me next week. Just remind me next week. It's okay.
One thing at a time. One thing at a time. I mean,
that's it. In my heart and soul is into that one thing, and then after that, then the next thing I move on to the next thing. World of Outlaws is it's a lot of work. We lease the track. We lease the track to the World of Outlaws. Well, we lease it to them, and then we do and they contract us to do all of what we normally do on a regular basis. So we still do everything we do on a regular, race event. And then we have our same people. We bring in extra, extra help for, EMS and fire and safety and all that. We bring in some extra stuff there. We bring in more porta cans because we don't normally pull the crowds that they pull. So, we want to make sure we have all the facilities.
Make sure those bathrooms stay clean, huh?
A little extra lighting. Yeah, a little extra lighting. But over the winter, as H was preparing the track, he's actually done a few things like our hot pit area. He put a light there that lights it up a little bit better. So there was some things he was doing in general, that will help with this event as well too. But so there are some extra. It takes a lot of work to put it in, and then as soon as it's over, you got to coordinate getting it all picked up and out of there. And so it's a lot of work, and we just hopefully get this one in.
Yeah, and if I remember right, the World Outlaw they were slated to come in last year too, but COVID knocked that. There wasn't a reschedule.
At the 11th hour. I mean, just about at the 11th hour. That was the hardest part because we had done all the work.
Correct. Yeah, it was just like it was if I remember right, it was like the week of, I think.
It was the day of. It was
the day of. Okay, yeah. See, that's even worse.
It's like the Friday night practice or Friday night when they were rolling in. It was that early that day, so teams were already on the road and they were trying to get there. I was trying to stop it earlier than that because I kept hearing this thing that was making me more nervous. But so finally they were like, we got to do this. We got to pull it. And it's a hard decision. It's a hard call. Like a rain forecast. It's a hard call. And like I said, the work was all done. We just had to put the show on. And the year before that was a rain out. I think we got one half a night in or so. I don't remember exactly, but the fans that, didn't, but they've been great. I have to say they've been really great on refunding or, some people are coming, they can use their ticket on the Friday night show, from last year that didn't want to refund, but so they've been really good and real fair about that. So I've been pleased. They're good people to work with, real good. And when this came up with the storm, everything, they were great to work with. And then they were excited to be able to reschedule. So and that makes me happy for the fans.
And I mean, third time's the charm, we can say. I mean,
That's
here we are. We'll it's upon us, this weekend. But deeper than that, they keep wanting to come back. It was 1 year, and then we'll do it the next year, and so that's always I know a good sign for a promoter, but especially to any fan base to know that that the track that they attend is a track that the World of Outlaws want to come race at because it fits in their schedule. It makes it work with where they're trying to go, and they find that to be like the good, not necessarily pit stop, but a great in between, so don't have any gaps in in their schedule. And
yes, right. And we're honored that they choose us. It's an honor to say the World of Outlaws won a race at our racetrack. So, and there are many people that love that type of racing, and then many people that love what we do every time we're out there on a Saturday night. So that's what I like about having the support class. They get to see both. For those that maybe don't know what we do out there, get to see it, and for those that come just because they're have
they want to see the World of Outlaws. They want to see.
And then
exactly.
That's it. And then they may not have been a fan, and now they may become a fan of World of Outlaws. So it's a win-win situation, and they're great people to work with.
And I started out after my uncle got the track here in town in Beaumont. It's kind of one of those things. All right, cool. I'll go to the racetrack. I like cars. I like loudness. I like things that go fast. So it all just adds up. And so I went out there, and all it took was just going one night. And, of course, what were there? Sprint cars. Yep. And so I was just kind of one of those things of I got kind of hooked as a sprint car fan. And, a lot of people are just like, they're anti-sprint car, they're anti-late model. They'll watch one but not the other. And, I understand, everybody to each their own. They have their preference. And, I just kind of it's one of those that, and when you hear the World Outlaws are coming, it's kind of like, well, which ones? Are they the sprint cars or the late models? And it's the sprint cars.
Yes,
all right. But after all the speed weeks, with everything getting broadcasted in February from East Bay and from down in Volusia, and it was just it was really cool to kind of get to watch a little bit more of the World Outlaw late models, and so it's kind of a I'm not going to say the tide is shifting, on that, but I found a deeper appreciation with them, and y'all coming from late models, that's what would you say would be your difference in the two when it comes to watching a late model race and a sprint car race?
Personally, it'd be a late model.
Well, I could have guessed that one, but why? Like, why the late model over the, over the sprint car? Like what makes? I'm not gonna say.
Well, I'm like you. Watching it on TV and stuff. I got a whole new appreciation for the World of Outlaws late models. I think I think they put on a fine show. They're just, they're exciting. Open wheel scares me a little bit more, personally. But so I think that's, and I like late models. So to see the World of Outlaws late models is exciting. I would love to have one of those shows. I'm excited to have this one. The drivers are all nice and everybody's friendly. The fans, they get up and close with the fans. So I think the whole organization is great. So that's the good part. So I think they attract great teams on both sides. But I've had opportunity to do the late model. That would be extremely exciting.
Yeah, especially with the background that y'all have in late models and attention, World of Outlaw people, that's your invitation. That's your invitation. Because
that's it.
they're going to get tagged in the podcast when we make the post. So if somebody listens,
there we go.
They're going to hear it.
Listen up, guys. Listen up. Yes.
At minute mark 32, they're going to hear the invitation. I think 32. I don't know. I'm not counting, but
right.
But that's always the fun. Fun discussion with a lot of the friends that I have, when it comes to just watching racing when I'm not out working is, what are we going to go watch? Where are we going to go? What track? And, it always kind of, it always comes up. Yeah. And you always want to see what's going to be on the docket for the weekend and choosing back and forth. And,
and in Texas, there's a lot of choices. That's for sure.
I know. Oh my gosh. Like just within, I'd say within well, nope, never mind. I was going to say within a 2-hour drive of where I'm at, but never mind. Well, no.
But actually, there really is.
I do stand corrected. Yeah, within 2 hours, I've got 3 different tracks that I could go to. And then if I tack on another hour, then I can reach out there a little bit, a little bit closer to y'all. I think is close to 4. But then at that point, the radius expands and leave Friday night, go somewhere Saturday, and just kind of have a good weekend off and enjoy a little bit enjoy a little bit of something different, because it's always fun to, kind of go to different places and learn and see how things are done. And I know from a promoter's standpoint, it's nice to kind of travel a little bit and see how other people do things and kind of see about implementing.
And speaking of the Speed Pass, that's one of the pluses I see myself is that, we've done our race and now we're off. So I'm able to get on my computer and watch these other tracks. And most people are watching the race cars, and I'm watching all the other things that are taking place. I'm listening to the announcers. I'm watching how fast they send the cars. If I'm lucky enough, I get to hear the race director a little bit over the PA, so I'm watching the infield people. I'm watching when they have wrecks, how quick did they respond, all of those things. So we're able to look at those things because of Speed Pass and not have to leave home.
Right. An opportunity to kind of analyze and see about, how to improve.
Are we up to speed?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. So my gosh.
So I'm critiquing them and trying to learn at the same time and or say, hey, yeah, we already do that, or we, that's not how we would do that. But
right.
So we're not really looking just to find faults. We are actually looking to learn, because safety is number one for us. It always has been. It always will be. So
absolutely.
Safety is the most important thing. And to be able to watch other tracks go through some trial and errors or things, we all get hit with things that we're not expecting. And, we want to be as prepared as we possibly can be. And so a Speed Pass affords that to us to be able to do that and not be away from our home and get a little rest after, working so hard to put on a race, because it takes a few days to get over one, believe it or not. I used to drive a race car, so I have an appreciation for a lot of people that promote never have driven a race car. Fortunately, my husband and I both have, but
okay.
I know a lot of fans and a lot of people, well, mostly fans, will think a race car driver loads their race car on a trailer after the race is over, and the next time the racetrack opens, they just load it off of the trailer and they go racing.
Absolutely.
They don't know what goes in between. Yes, from the point that they left there to the point that they came back, all the hard work that goes in between.
Absolutely.
They don't know that. And I've had officials that's never driven a race car, really been, they love racing, and now they're an official. They're helping us to put on the races, but they have no clue what these drivers have gone through, and the adrenaline, and they climb out of these cars and they're upset and they're angry because they just spent their half a week's earnings because that front end got knocked off or whatever. And not only that, they've got to spend the whole week fixing it. We have an appreciation for that. Yes. So anyway, safety is our number one concern. And so I do love that Speed Pass allows us to do that. And one of the things we try to do is put on our social media, if we're not racing, where they have a choice, they can use their Speed Pass and go watch these other tracks too. Now, does that make the other tracks more money? No, but it does make people want to have a membership for their track, and that does help their track.
Correct.
And this is a bonus to get to see other tracks.
Because when you register with Speed Pass, half of your monthly subscription goes to whatever track you pick, and so
exactly.
you race your local track, but you'll go out of town to go somewhere, and you rain out. You're still supporting your local track back home.
Yes.
And that's one of the
great
great things
about
really Speed Pass that we really love with Race on Texas is it gives drivers an opportunity to kind of see their dollars in action every month when a check gets cut and how it's added to purses and things like that. But I got to back up. You mentioned you drove a race car. What kind of car did you and H drive, and was it a?
Well, H drove a asphalt modified.
Okay.
I believe he drove a street stock before that, but modified asphalt car, and I drove a street stock myself.
Okay, so but both an asphalt street stock too?
Yeah, I drove street stock, and then when I drove, not too many women drove with the guys. They had powder puffs.
Okay.
But, I wanted to drive with the guys because they drive every week, and the powder puff women drive maybe once every 2 months.
Right.
And I wanted to get out there and go with people that, I felt like I could really trust. So that's what I chose to do. And my first season, I finished, I think, 6 points out of second place.
That ain't bad at all.
Yeah. and that was at the Longhorn. That was on the quarter-mile track. So, like I said, I've been around at racing since I was 8, and my mother was a very good powder puff driver. So, she drove powder puff. My dad drove all the time. My uncle drove. My brother drove. My husband drives. My son drives. It's now my granddaughter drives, and so it's just in the blood.
So
it's in the blood.
What was that?
I had a cousin that drive. I've had cousins that drive. It's like the whole family's racing.
So what's that adjustment like, going from being around asphalt, for all the years to being around dirt track now?
Well, that's an interesting question because so when the asphalt track closed down, I think it was 2013, and so I was not doing much racing. I wasn't doing any racing then, but most of the racers that raced for us at Thunder Hill had changed this. I know we were going to Houston to watch a race, and this track was being built on 290, and we'd pass it. And I kept thinking, man, this is going to be hard. This might be a little hard on me. It's going to be up. Looks like I'm fixing to be up against another close track. And so that was Cotton Bowl being built. So in 2013, I think the last of 2013, it opened, and my son started racing there. And I'm like, I'm not going to a dirt track. I'm not going to a dirt track. Never missed a race that my son raced in. I'm just not doing it. And then so I go, and then the action on the track was, beyond, 4 wide was common. I mean, it's like, I'm like, they're 4 wide. Oh, they're still 4 wide. Oh, they're 6 wide. They're 6 wide. Okay. Oh my God. So it was like the action was just crazy. It was just like, this is just too exciting. And so then, the track wasn't going to reopen. And I didn't know much about many of the tracks around Cotton Bowl. I just knew, like, oh God, another track is going to close, kind of like when Thunder Hill came about.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Well, so half of my drivers that raced at Thunder Hill had already moved over to the dirt world because it was all there was.
Yeah,
Houston wasn't open.
Correct.
So there was no asphalt tracks to go to. San Antonio was gone. So all of a sudden, now these drivers are calling me, Marianne, you got to save the track. You got it. You got it. You just got it. You got it. Now, are you kidding me? I know nothing about dirt. Nothing.
Right.
My husband knew nothing about dirt. And so we finally decided that I said, I'll step in and do an awards banquet because these drivers that, race, they deserve to have an awards banquet. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'll step in and
reward all the hard work.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. And then I got the bug, and then the drivers were like, come on, Marianne, come on, like, okay. And I talked to H, and he was like, he supports anything I do, and he's my missing link, and I couldn't do it without him. And, and that's seriously from the bottom of my heart. So he agreed, and we did, and we stepped off and we did it. And the first shot, I was like, holy crap. This is, in the asphalt world, if it rains, you just blow and go. You just blow the track off and you go racing.
Yeah.
As long as the skies are clear. In the dirt world, it's a whole different ball game. It rains. It's particularly, like I said, with this track, the pit area was that first year was a hot mess. So if we even got a shower, we had to reschedule. So then he just started figuring out ways to try to make the pits better, packing it down and stuff like that. So it's quite different. It's so much more work. As far as the operations are the same. It's the same as an asphalt track as it is for a dirt track, operational wise. But the actual surface, the preparation for the track is, if people really only had a clue what it really takes for that,
absolutely,
they'd be gladly laying their money down.
Yeah, and
you have no clue.
And Owen Pittman brought a good idea up about doing a shop talk episode on track prep towards later in middle of the season. So that's I'm going to add you to the list on that, because especially going from having to adjust on that.
Absolutely.
CBS.
I mean, on Fridays,
on the note.
On Fridays we would get to the racetrack, and the cleanup crew guys would get there, and they'd get the blower out of the garage, out of the shop, and they'd hook it onto the safety truck, and they'd go out there and they'd blow the entire racetrack off. And then we opened up hot laps, for Friday night test and tune. The next day, they blow off the racetrack. We go racing. This one is like, Wednesday, we start prepping the track. Thursday, we prep the track. My husband is usually adding water up until the time he's usually climbing out of the water truck to run to the driver's meeting. And then he's running from there to go to the tower because he's the race director. Mm-hmm. And it's just like nonstop. So it's like, quite different.
Yeah, there's a lot of steps that go into prepping a racetrack. And a lot of that is, knowing what weather is coming during the week, between Sunday to Thursday. So and so, do you sheep foot it early so it starts getting water in? Do you till it? And all that comes into play. And a lot of people don't really think about those things, but they're going to learn about them once we do that episode. And
I love that. I think that's going to be a cool show. I love that. I'd love to be a part of it. I'd love for H to be a part of it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Heck yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
We'll make it I don't know exactly how, but I'm going to figure out the logistics to see if we can get like
it sounds like you are.
See if we can get about 5.
And of course, we love Owen. Owen is one of our announcers. And then he opens up this Edna, and so now he's stretched between, but he's still so great, so it's great that we have the working relationship that we do. And there's only so many dates to pick from. So, a few of our dates cross over, but when Owen can help, he definitely helps in any way that he can. So I don't know. He's an energy bunny. So is H. I don't know how they do it. It's like,
yeah.
But I think that's a great idea to have that show. I think everyone, social media is the most difficult part in my world.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes. Listen, I'm going to tell you from back in the day, the difference between promoting then and now is it's like 2 jobs. It's like 2 full-time jobs, because the people that do and 90% of the world does social media, and I get a text and it'll be a question. And before I can type the answer, they're sending me a question mark.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I just first thing is I was trying to figure out what the answer is, and now I'm trying to type it in there, and you already got a question mark. Right. So that in itself is a full-time job. To me, that is next to prepping the track. That is the hardest part.
I agree. That was one of the things that I took over in my announcing job and stuff, is the promoting. Whoops, there's low battery. Promoting stuff and running the social media for the track here in Beaumont. And I tell you, you're exactly right.
Full-time job. Yes.
I don't know about you, but soapbox moment, we're going to have a TED Talk. In other words, if y'all are paying attention to this, take note and stop doing it.
Yes. If the whole world could get on that would be great.
When you
that would be
post
great.
Every detail about the event, when the pits are opening, how much is it to get in, yada, 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 all the details.
Yes.
15 minutes later, you get a message. How much is it to get in the pits?
Yes, because you didn't want to read.
Right.
Because you did not want to read.
Everyone do a favor for every track promoter. Read the post for the upcoming race. Same thing like with what Owen talked about with the email address. Just click forget password, make your new RaceOnTexas email, and just move on.
Yes.
Check your emails, make that done. But we're going to hit this one too. Read every post. It makes everyone's job easier. And like you say, with taking care of the track surface itself is, a whole entire entity of a job. So is the social media. It makes everything so much smoother when you look for the answers.
Especially when you spend so much, and we do spend so much time keeping our social media current. Like if you literally will take a hot minute and look at our Facebook page, or go to our website, or even go to My Race Pass, everything you could possibly ask us is already answered for you. If you just look, most of the time, if you just look at our Facebook page, the answer is right there in front of you, and we spend a lot of time just making that information available to you, and then to spend the time answering the texts and the emails and the phone calls, and even the voicemail. My voicemail pretty much tells you everything. It's like, oh, they're probably going to sleep because she's told me everything that possibly could happen.
Right.
And then I say, if I didn't answer all your questions, please leave a detailed message, or better yet, send a text message.
That's right.
So we try to cover all the bases, because there's so much other stuff that goes along with it, like paying the light bill, paying the water bill.
Right.
All
all the other ins and outs. Yeah. making the run to the store to go get the concessions for the week. I mean, it's just
yes,
that all the little things.
And in the asphalt world, you wrote checks to the drivers.
Right.
In the dirt world, you pay cash.
Correct.
Well, not only do you have to go get the cash out of the bank, you got to break it down to what denominations go in those envelopes, and then you got to stuff those envelopes so they're prepared. So you can pay those guys when they get through racing, because they need the money to get home. We get it.
That's right.
But it is quite the job just to do driver payout.
That's speaking truths. I'm right there with you. I've seen it firsthand. Yeah. I know. I bet you have. Goes. Yes. It's just.
I bet you have.
It's the little things that. It's the little things that add up that kind of culminate to make it one of those things. Yeah, that when something doesn't go right, just within the office, everything's just like it just stops because it just comes.
The whole world's like oh. And then your husband says, "You want to go to dinner tonight?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? No."
Do you not see all of this? Do you not see this to-do list we have to get done?
Most of the time it's me saying, "Can we go to dinner?" And he's going like, "Are you kidding me?"
That's right. I'm not getting off the water truck till like 9 o'clock. I mean, what are you talking about? That's right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and working hard so he didn't turn on the lights to cost us more money, and so he's like busting. So yeah, it's a different world out there. But with that all being said, I know what these racers go through to get their race cars out there, to be able to put the show on for the fans, because that's what it's all about, is the fans. Those people that pay their good money to come watch, and then those that spend their good money to get to do what they do. I call it their playground, but their playground
great way to
can
put
be
it.
Just as expensive. That's it.
That's a great way to put that, because that's the essence of why people come to watch racing, is to be entertained. And
yes, exactly.
They get that joy in that. I don't know if the psychological word is correct, but they get that euphoria of watching the racing, and it hits. And
yes,
while the
and
drivers,
we have some of the best racing, I think, around, and we're not the track that wants to attract 200 factory stocks, or we want it. We want a good home track. Good family night of racing. You get to see, you get to know these drivers. They come to this same racetrack. They know those people out there in those race cars, and they get to come watch it. And we want to get out at a decent hour for those that want to get up and go to church the next morning and not fall asleep in there.
Facts.
We don't want A, B, C, D, F, B main.
Right.
We want 24 cars starting a feature, and we want you to go home and talk about it all the way home, and still be, still have time. It's a decent time of the night. That's our goal.
Yeah.
And to watch them. One of the most fun things for me to do, and usually I'm so tied up I don't get to do it like I'd like to, but to watch the people leaving with the smiles on their face. I love that. I just love that.
That's a good takeaway. Oh my gosh. And,
yeah.
And leaving with smiles on faces. We're going to leave it on that one. And, Miss Mary Ann, we thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your evening to
you're
sit
so
down
welcome.
and do the podcast with us. I have a few weekends that are free on the schedule, and I'm trying to kind of plan out some some road trips, and
I got you a VIP seat waiting. I got you a VIP seat waiting.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna
yes, sir.
I'm gonna get with Chris, and I'll go do the walkthrough on the application for cleanest restrooms, and we'll see.
I love it.
We'll see.
I would love to have. I'd be honored to have you. I love your show. I'd be honored to have you.
Well, we love everything that y'all do out there in Page, Texas, for all the fans and the racers. And y'all be for sure to message us with any questions, comments, concerns, and we'll do our best to kind of get back to you on that, whether you message us on the Shop Talk Facebook page or email us at RaceOnTexas.com. We'll be sure to get you all those answers. And thank y'all again for joining us. And as always, I am Caleb McFarland. Thank you, and good night.